Hey y'all, before this video starts, I want to give a little bit of an explanation on to why I haven't uploaded in a while. So after the end of this video, obviously, which is putting the whole motor back in the car and then first start and first drive, I messed up and I rod knocked it. So 2 videos ago when I put together the bottom end, the bearing clearances weren't good for the rods. I spun all the rod bearings and then in turn spun the main bearings, and the whole bottom end probably needs replaced again. This is a very expensive mess up and a good learning experience, but I'm very upset as to why I haven't uploaded in a while. So now that I have motivation for the car again, I get to upload the videos. I didn't want to do anything with the car after I found that out, especially because we had this whole trip planned for me to take the car with all my friends, and that didn't really work out. So after that, then I was just like, fuck this is really annoying. So now that all that's blown over and I can just focus on actually getting it done, build it properly. I'm on 0 time constraints, which is the big thing. That's why I messed it up last time. I was in a big hurry. I was excited. Now we'll just take our time, measure everything properly, and get it done right. So I want it to be able to be reliable, and fingers crossed, that's what I'm able to do this time around. So expensive mess up, but it happens. We all have our mistakes. So good learning experience, and let's get into the video. But first, before we get into it, a little fun addition that I added to the garage. I bought a crane. So my idea with this was when my roommate and I eventually move our separate ways, that I'll need an engine hoist. So I decided to get this crane because it allows me to do a lot more than just the stuff I can do with an engine hoist. So I'm really excited to use this. It will hopefully last me a really long time. Back to what the video is about. The first thing we need to do is get the engine off the stand and get it on the hoist so we can go ahead and do the flywheel. Flywheels in and torqued. I used a wrench here and a flywheel bolt and a transmission bolt here to help it so the flywheel would not turn when I went to go torque it. Really easy solution, it's great. The other big thing to note, make sure you put the rear plate in before the flywheel. This is my second time installing the flywheel because I forgot about that. So let's go ahead and put the clutch back in. Pressure plate and clutch are all in. The pressure plate bolts are torqued to 20 foot-pounds, so you shouldn't need to hold anything. If you do, you can literally just grab it here and you should be able to stop it from moving so you can torque it. But now we're gonna go ahead and put on the transmission. Make sure you pay attention to the lubrication points. It's gonna be around the inside of your bearing here, on this pivot point, and on these 2 pivot points on the fork. Transmission and transfer on. I added the gussets and the oil cooler and the power steering pump bracket back on, and then I went ahead and installed the new clutch fork boot. So now what we're going to try to do is go ahead and use the crane and try to lift the front of the car up so we can slide this whole thing underneath. The engine's all back in the car. It took me a little while to try to figure out the orientation of all these mounts because it's not just like directly bolted into it's like there's 3 of them. Obviously, if you took it off, you know. But what was nice about using the crane, not having to put the motor and the transmission together while it was in the car, is I could put everything together and then just slide it down, drop it down, and then just literally bolt up the mounts. One thing that really helped was mounting these inside the car before I went to go lift the engine. That way I can just lift, once I lift the engine, these will just go into place and I can just slide the bolt in and I don't have to fumble around with trying to get everything mounted while I'm moving around, while the engine can move around. So that was a big help and super easy. So now the next step is I'm going to go ahead and install the pan and probably bolt up the drive shaft and probably the pitch mounts as well. So I'll go ahead and do that. Big jump in footage, but we're getting everything on that's around the engine. The turbo's on, radiator's all mounted up, overflow, the oil cooler, the power steering pump, alternator, if you can see it, all the belts are on, and I've started to connect back up the wiring harness. The 2 things that I did to the wiring harness was I just wired back up these connectors that I got from Wiring Specialties. These connectors are actually for an RB26, but they connect right up to the factory sensors, so hopefully they work. We'll find out, I suppose. When putting on the belts, you can see all the way down there with the power steering how close the bolt is to the wall there. What I found easiest was that when I put those on, I slid it in from here and then took it and rotated that belt sideways, slid it in, and then around that, and that allowed me to put it underneath of the crank pulley. And then you pull it up over top of the water pump and then turn it over a few times to make sure it's all nice and seated. And the alternator belt was a lot easier because I was able to completely release the tension and let the alternator swing freely, and just took it down past the tensioner bracket here. That way I could easily slide it on around it and then just lift the alternator up in place and put the bolt in through the tensioner bolt. It's unfortunate though, because the one thing that actually did happen was one of these studs actually pulled through. I had the machine shop, like I mentioned, put in the steel inserts and the stud completely pulled it out. I didn't even torque these to spec, which is only 30 foot-pounds. So that's a big oh no. Right now I'm in the process of putting the intake on. So once we get that intake on, then hopefully we can put the intercooler on and have first startup today. Now the motor's mostly together. I got the intake on, all the PCV piping and the electrical stuff on. The biggest pain in the butt, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera. It's all the way down there, right there. That coolant pipe right there, all the way down there, was the biggest pain in the butt. Everything else went on pretty easily for the intake. Pretty much the sketchiest part though was definitely getting all the washers and nuts on for the throttle body linkage. My suggestion for the throttle linkage is very similar to the suggestion I used for putting on the nuts and the washers for the head studs. Instead of using a straight pick, we're going to be using a 90 degree. So you're going to put the nuts and the washers on the pick here. You're going to hold it with your finger as you take the pick and you put it up against the stud here. And then I use, for the inside one here, I use a flat head to help me out. But up on this top one here, you can just use your other hand. Once you release it and you drop it, you should be able to just push on the washers and thread on the nut. And once the nut started to be thread on, you can take out the pick and it holds it there. That way you don't drop all these tiny little hardware down inside the back and it's really hard to get to, and or you have to go get more. So that's just my little tip and it worked out well for me. With that inside nut there on the throttle linkage, like I said, I used a flat head to help me push on the washers of the nut. The washers were easy to get on. That nut is an absolute pain in the ass, but just a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of time, patience. I got it on there, started threading it, and then I was able to get my pinky down there to help thread it on the rest of the way. So I can get I think that's an 8mm nut, if I remember correctly. And I was able to tighten it down. If you have a better suggestion, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. But I still have to set TPS position, which isn't that hard. One thing that I'm not a huge fan about this setup is I don't have a blow-off valve, or what the manual calls the recirculation valve. It was deleted by a previous owner. I'm assuming somebody from overseas, because the previous owner, as far as I'm aware, didn't do that. But also these little connectors here on the throttle bodies are supposed to be just capped off, and once again, the previous owner, probably the same person who did the blow-off valve delete, they ran these into each other. So technically, these are supposed to be capped off, and you're supposed to be running one of these hoses, this one down here, which is capped off. This from your air collector is supposed to be going into the blow-off valve, which is supposed to be sitting right about here. But the better way to do it, even TurboSmart says to do it, is to run each one of these that this is connecting to. So not your PCV lines here, but your other ones, the two smaller ones that are right underneath your screws. Those are all supposed to be connected into one hose and then go directly into it. Because if you have everything coming off of the collector, it's not as efficient as just running it directly from the throttle bodies. So if you run all these from the throttle bodies to your blow-off valve, it'll run a lot better. So I would suggest doing that, and that's what I'm going to be doing once I get my blow-off valve. The intake really is a pain in the butt to get to everything, but you just gotta be patient with it. Gotta find out the right way. Like I said, that one hose that's all the way down there, all the way down there, I at first had that flip the other way, so I couldn't get through it between the runners for the throttle bodies, and I had to take it back off to flip it around because I was struggling so much. That's definitely the easiest orientation to do, so I highly recommend doing that. But all the other hoses and stuff, they're pretty easy to get to. The vacuum lines for the air collector on the back of the intake, as long as when you're putting the intake onto the engine that you help line those up, they go in really easy, so that's nice. And all the wirings together. The one connector, I don't know where this connector goes. So if you know, let me know, but don't know where that connector goes. I don't know if it's something to do with something that's been deleted over here, factory deleted option, but yeah, that I have no idea what to do with. But all the other connectors match up nicely. Oh yeah, and there's also this connector here. Don't know what to do with that either, but yeah, so we're gonna try to go ahead and do first start. Got oil in it, so we'll go ahead and try to do first start and see how that goes. Hopefully don't run into too many issues. I don't necessarily need the intercooler because it's just a first start, but things went together pretty smoothly, so hopefully it all works out well.
I guess, see what happens. Get the spark. one. You're cranking. Let's see. Go for it. No spark. Smells like fuel.
I can't smell it.
Just in the whole garage, I think I smell unburnt fuel. Where's that coil plug into? That's one of your plugs. The bottom of the coil.
Did I not plug in the coil?
No.
I plugged in the distributor and the power transistor, but I didn't plug in the coil. God damn it. Cool.
Fire away, I guess. Smoke. Something doesn't like that. You got electrical smoke coming out of the front up here. It was like right in there. Not exactly, but somewhere. That looks like that has not been plugged in forever, so you can probably try that. I don't know.
You want to do it again and keep an eye on it? But that was struggling to turn
I
over.
think it just killed it. I think the battery's just probably trying to make spark now.
Yeah. Well, keep an eye on that and see if you can see where it's coming from.
It's the light.
Oh my God.
Attempt number 2.
Huh. So now it's not happy. Try it again now, just with no coil on. Maybe a bad coil. There's no. You say you never have a bad coil. So it cranks fine, right?
Yeah.
And then.
The starter turns it fine, but as soon as it tries to give it spark.
Oh, where'd that thing go there? Okay. Huh. Very strange.
Is it not smoking up there anymore?
Yeah, it is. I don't know where though. Try it again, I guess. Let's see if I can see it. Something underneath your coolant reservoir. Wait, hold on. I don't know. Oh yeah, it's that wire. Woohoo! Toasty. Part of your coolant.
It's one of the grounds. There's 2 grounds that go right there.
Why is it ground being hot? Okay.
Is it the other wire?
That one's warm too.
I wonder if it's just not getting a good connection for the ground.
It's probably right here, yeah. I would say so. 10 mil, pull it off. Wire wheel it or something.
Yeah. Where's the 10 mil?
Yeah, it's a little horn.
Yeah, the connections are a little warm as well.
Yeah, it might just be your connection.
Give me a second.
Exactly. The body's probably the problem right there.
Looks better.
I would almost
Tap it.
no, just looks like you're shooting the. So they're still shooting the threads.
Yeah.
Where's the brake Weird though.
Yeah.
Weird. You've got good crank.
Unless the coil's connected to the harness.
I want to retest that theory because it makes no sense. But yeah, all right, try this. Might be this actual terminal on one of these too because they look quite corroded.
Yeah. You can hear electrical crap. Want me to hit it again?
Try it. Yeah, try it again. Might be in the starter. I don't know. That clicking's in the starter. But
my oil temperature actually went up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think my temperature is working now.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Congrats.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
A little smoky.
Yeah, I don't know where it's. I think it's just oil on the exterior burning off somewhere. It's down on like near the turbo or the downpipe. Fuck yeah. Nice.
Yes. Wow, that's a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like I was revving it and then I was going up a little bit. Well, once it would drop back down, it would. Probably also the timing doesn't help. Probably has to be timed. Yeah, it was weird how. Wouldn't do that.
So you still have some sort of cranking issue.
Yeah.
Which we'll have to solve, but it runs.
Yeah.
That's the start. The start. Yeah, I don't know if it's the starter.
Should I try it again to see if it's the same issue?
I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know. Or do you just want to put? Do you just want to put fucking? Just put silverware, and you can run it all you want.
Yeah.
Because you might as well find those leaks now. We don't have any oil leaks, so
Yeah.
might as well go down the cool.
Woo!
There you go.
We did it, Reddit. Everything's back together. Got the intake in, the catch can, and the boost controller. I'm not a huge fan of the catch can location. The actual Cusco instructions say to mount it to those 2 points right there. I kind of want to take it and mount it up here on the strut tower. That way, one, it's a lot more accessible, and two, it's just, that's really cramped and there's a lot of space over there. So, but everything's in. The only issue is that when I blasted this compressor housing, I had to take it off, and then when I put it back on, I didn't clock it correctly. So you can see how this piping is actually a bit close to here. There's a bracket supposed to go here to here, and my bracket hole is here, so this needs to actually come back like an inch or two And you can see that too on the hose, how it's supposed to be matched up with that notch there. So this whole thing needs to come back, and you can also see that how the intercooler is sitting, how this is actually supposed to be back there. So it should be enough to do first drive, which I'm hopefully going to be doing tomorrow night because it's like 4 a.m. right now. So just got to get the wheels back on and drop her on the ground, and she should be good to go. The one thing that does suck about this piping though is I'm going to have to completely take off the turbo and the manifold again so I can adjust that. Now that we got her back together, let's take her out for a drive. So after a very successful first drive, there's a little something else I added to it. Got a Cusco front strut bar. I know some people were complaining about all the stuff over here to mount it up. Luckily, I didn't have that, so there's no problems. It is a little close to the firewall to adjust it, just like everybody else says, but she looks really good with the, unfortunately you can't see the NGK spark plug wires because that wouldn't just add on to all the extra little blue stuff. It would look really cool, but when I go to a front mount intercooler, then that will shine. So looks really good. So this is where I would normally say the engine build's done, time to start working on other things on the Pulsar like suspension and whatnot. As you already know, the engine build isn't finished because you gotta do it again pretty much. So the next video, we're gonna be pulling the engine back out and disassembling again. Shouldn't have to do anything with the head, should just be the bottom end. It should be a bit easier, but still annoying just because I'm stupid. So if you like what you saw, wanna see more, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks.